The Lions win Week 1 matchup versus the Chiefs, and we are back.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 2 of the Game On podcast. Who would have thought we made it to a second episode?
Doesn't usually happen.
Today we're going to be going over all the Week 1 games, followed by an over or not overreaction from a bunch of Week 1 topics. As my man right here just said, somehow the Lions pulled off the upset and beat the Chiefs. Take it away, partner.
You know, the Lions beat the Chiefs. I knew this was coming. He said it wasn't. Sam Laporta, best take of the year. It was just meant to happen. You start versus the buzzsaw of the Chiefs, and everybody thinks the Lions are just going to start 0-1. You bring the momentum from last year. You take Dan Campbell. You add offensive pieces with Jahmyr Gibbs, and you get it done. Yes, I get it. The Chiefs didn't have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones.
You get it, huh?
However, when you're playing the Chiefs, a win's a win. You got to take a win. A win is a win is a win.
All right, so let me just start off by saying I clearly don't get it because this was an absolute fluke win from the Detroit Lions. They were gifted 7 free points on a silver platter thanks to one of Kadarius Toney's 5 mistakes on the night. That just happened to be the most detrimental one that resulted in 7 points. Not to mention he dropped a pass that would have put the Chiefs in field goal range to win the game, followed by 3 other drops. I will say, shout out to guys like Reynolds who came in clutch, 80 yards on the night. Wasn't expecting that from somebody like him. He came through and was huge for you guys. Amon-Ra looked pretty good. Other than that, man, Chiefs looked frazzled. Patrick Mahomes had some throws in there that he just did not look like himself at all.
I'm hearing you give these shout-outs, but let's give our respect to Sam Laporta. A rookie tight end usually doesn't come in week 1 and has 5 receptions and 50 yards.
5 receptions, 40 yards.
I mean, who else is doing that? Out of the tight end production from the receiving standpoint, that's putting him top 5 in the league every week.
It's not top 5 in the league. It's maybe top 7 or top 8. Top 5 is a stretch.
Yeah, as a guy that goes undrafted in most leagues, that's something.
As a Lions fan, are you proud of this win? I want to genuinely know that because I think it was the most bullshit-ass win.
I mean, call it bullshit if you want. We're 1-0, and I'm very proud. These guys don't win many games. It's been 4 years of misery, and to start 1-0 for the first time in a long time.
That's fair.
It's the best, and you beat Patrick Mahomes. The weapons are gone. The offense looks a shell of itself, but
it did.
You beat the Chiefs.
I just want to say also, Jahmyr Gibbs, when he was on the field, he looked really good.
He's explosive. He's ready to take over when he needs to.
He was fast.
He's going to take those chunk plays, and then with Jameson Williams coming back after 6 games, this lineup's going to have a lot more explosion. I thought the offense was a little stale at times, but I could give him that. But the defense stepped up in ways I've never seen the defense step up in. But that being said, the Chiefs made a lot of mistakes that they're not going to make down the road. All right, Browns beat the Bengals 24-3.
This one was a little bit surprising. I mean, you knew it could be a close game, but you didn't think if it was going to be a blowout, that would be in the Browns' favor. Joe Burrow just got that massive bag, and he looked like a peewee football quarterback out there today.
I'm just disappointed that we didn't get a better game out of this. I don't have too much stock in the Browns or the Bengals. I like both teams a lot. I want to see both teams score a lot. And watching Joe Burrow go out there and lay an egg every single drive, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. It was just terrible. They looked awful.
I want to say, I guess we can throw these quarterbacks a little bit of leeway because Deshaun didn't look all that great either. 16 for 29, 154 yards with a touchdown and a pick. That's also some stats that doesn't necessarily jump off the sheet and impress you. We got to cut them some slack, though, because it was pouring in that game. And ultimately, the team that was able to run the football best in those conditions was going to win the game. And obviously, that was going to be Nick Chubb and the Browns. Nick Chubb had over 100 yards. No surprise there.
And, man, T. Higgins, 8 targets, 0 receptions, and 0 yards. The dude was on an island all night and got beat every single time they threw him the ball downfield. These guys looked like they've never played in rain, never played in harsh conditions because they got their asses kicked. I mean, Jamar Chase said after the game, I'm just frustrated because I call their asses elves, and we just lost to some elves. It's like you're doubling down after getting your ass beat.
That's an all-time quote
but I'm looking forward for them to bounce back and, show that there's still the offense that could get it done.
Yeah, they're still the Bengals. They'll be all right. Ravens versus Texans, kind of the game we expected it to be. What did you think?
I thought it was messy. I thought the Ravens should have went in there and gone up a lot very early, and Lamar looked awful. He was careless with the ball. He didn't really know what he wanted to do. He didn't get players like Odell Beckham involved. It's just like, what is going on there? I mean, we saw Gus Edwards get a few carries. It's just like, And then you get J.K. Dobbins, tragically.
Can't catch a break, that guy.
Tearing his Achilles, and then it's just like, what is the next step for them? Because everybody asks, can Lamar throw the ball? I guess we'll never find out because they don't do it, for one. And two, Lamar just didn't look good.
Lamar didn't look good. He threw a pick. He put the ball on the ground twice. He only led the offense to 7 points in the first half. A lot better second half from them, however. Zay Flowers, when he got the ball in his hands, he looked good, bro.
Oh, he was quick. He was shifty left and right.
Him and Jahmyr Gibbs, both looked incredibly fast on that field. So,
Mark Andrews, though, you could tell they missed him a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
absolutely.
They really had no game plan without him.
Yeah.
And with a Texans defense, that 25 points that's not okay from the Ravens squad if they're trying to compete in their division.
Defense looked great, though.
Yeah, but in a division that they play in, they're not going to win many games playing that brand of football. Bucks versus Vikings. Baker and them boys got it done for me, just like I had them winning. And talk me through your thought process on this game.
Well, to me, it's crazy. The Vikings only managed to score 17 points when Kirk threw for 350 yards. JJ had 150 yards. The pass game was huge for both teams this game. Both running backs were held under 40 yards. And honestly, bro, sure, Baker gets credited with the W. He played great. He didn't turn the football over, which is the number one thing. His stat line, bro, it wasn't anything crazy.
He didn't. He was efficient with his targets. Throwing at a high clip, not turning the ball over, and 2 touchdowns. You just can't complain. It's like a Jared Goff type stat line.
You know what's crazy? In the predictions, I said as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, the defense can bail him out enough to win the game. And that's actually exactly what happened today, even though I still picked the Vikings for whatever reason.
You could tell the Vikings were missing a key piece in Dalvin Cook in the run game. Madison just didn't get it done today, which is sort of unfortunate for Madison owners. But it's tough when Kirk can be 33 of 44 with 2 tuds and you lose the game.
The Bucs went for it on 4th down and ended up scoring a touchdown. So shout out to them. They hit some balls for that one.
Yet another pick I won. Falcons beat the Panthers. And I'm looking good for this week. I'm feeling great. I won a lot of these picks, and talk me through.
You did.
The Panthers offense here.
So this one was a little bit weird.
He's real high on Bryce Young after this game. I'm telling you.
Listen, Bryce Young played a really good first half with the exception of that interception. The Falcons put up 24 points, which was just total bullshit because on his first 3 pass attempts, Ritter was 3 for 3 for negative 11 yards. The Panthers just so happened to turn the ball over twice on their own 30, which is the reason why they scored so many points. I think another big shocker here was how many carries Algier took from Bijan.
Dude, let me tell you, Algier looked explosive and a little concerning for some Bijan fantasy owners because he's getting a lot of that goal line work with 2 touchdowns today. But also, Bijan had a bigger role in the passing game than I sort of expected.
Me too.
Not to think that I thought he wouldn't be, but he was lining up in the slot. He was going out wide. He getting in motion all the time.
Plays.
They were using him as a Swiss Army knife, and it's cool to see because he's good and he's shifty. But Algier is getting that goal line work, which could limit some of his potential. But this offense looks like it's got some pieces to move.
Yeah, especially that 1-2 punch at running back. And they have guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London who they didn't even get involved this week.
Right.
Honestly, I think Desmond Ridder is going to be a little bit of a problem. If they could find a quarterback for that offense, they might have a pretty decent team over there in Atlanta.
Josh Dobbs' legacy game versus the Washington Commanders. And Sam Howell narrowly escaped one of the worst upsets of a bad team I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was almost a real bad beat there for a lot of sports bettors. Sam Howell, I expected a little bit more from him. He turned the ball over and made some questionable passes. But like you said, Josh Dobbs' legacy game. Much like Baker, he didn't turn the ball over one single time. But ultimately, the Commanders do come away with the win, which isn't surprising. I don't think there's much to say about this game. It was predicted to be a shit bowl, and it was a shit bowl.
Yeah, coming down to the stretch, Josh Dobbs had the ability to win the game on the last drive. They come up short. They don't have weapons. They don't have a quarterback. Yeah. They don't really have a defense. One thing I did note is the Commanders' D-line looked pretty good.
And they were missing Chase Young, too.
Yeah. So, and, they're just going to get better. And obviously, I don't see them contending for a playoff spot, but they could be a bruiser within their division. Take a couple games.
Potentially. Jags versus Colts. Closer game than a lot of people anticipated. The Jags came away with a 31-21 win. What do you think?
I thought Anthony Richardson looked pretty good. I liked him. as we talked last episode, I think Anthony Richardson's going to have a way better year than Bryce Young. And I think today sort of put that into perspective.
So far through 1 week?
Yeah. Right. So it's like the floor is pretty high. I don't think he had a great game, but it was serviceable, especially for a rookie in his first game. Trevor Lawrence and them guys, Ridley, absolutely put on a show in the first half and then absolutely disappeared in the second half.
Yeah.
It was like
it was bad.
They thought that they were going to continue to run through them, and then the Colts slowly got their way back with that crazy turnover for return for a touchdown that somehow didn't get called back.
An absolute fluke of a play.
Right. And I like to see this Colts team sort of build off of that, and then it's eventually, as time goes on, when Jonathan Taylor comes back, they could sort of evolve this team into something better. I
think you should be excited if you're a Colts fan. I will say, I got to give credit where credit's due. Richardson did a lot better than I predicted he would, so shout out to him. 250, just over 250 total yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. I don't know. This game was weird to me, man, because they had that fluke touchdown. Michael Pittman took a little dump-off pass. He took it like 50 yards to the crib. So I think the Colts played a lot better than like they actually looked on the field.
Yeah, they played to their ceiling for sure. But you could see the flashes. You could see how it's all going to run.
Yeah.
And then the pick late is sort of just a desperation. They're trying to get things going as they're down two scores. So, you can't really blame them for taking a little bit of a shot. The head-to-head defensive match turned into slaughterfest. 49ers versus Steelers, 30-7. And what the hell happened to the Super Bowl contending Steelers?
It's crazy people thought that this team was in contention like that. I just never saw it. The offense lacks firepower, to say the least. But then again, it's only week 1. Maybe we're being a little bit too harsh. They're going against what I think is the best team in the NFC. With that being said, CMC over 150 yards. Ayuk went absolutely insane. Like, he looked like the wide receiver 1 in that offense. Absolutely. Forget about Debo. Forget about George Kittle. Ayuk went crazy. 8 receptions, 129 yards with 2 touchdowns and a nasty toe tap.
At the very least, though, you expect these Steelers to hold the 49ers to under, I think it was 24 points in the first half.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do you let them walk over you? And then Kenny Pickett absolutely looked god-awful. This is year 2 of Kenny Pickett. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to take this leap. He's got George Pickens. He's got Pat Freiermuth, who had 1 reception and just so happened to be a touchdown. This offense was not going. Najee Harris still looks like he has no burst. He looks like he's on the verge of retirement for a guy that's, a third-year player.
They only gave him 6 carries.
He's terrible.
Which is huge. That team is never going to be able to win games if they can't establish the run.
No, and when you can't move the ball on offense, you're just going to tax your defense, and it doesn't matter how good they are if they're on the field 24/7.
Here we go. Saints beat the Titans 16-15.
I'm going to stop you right there. Ryan Tannehill will not be their quarterback after 4 more weeks. He's so bad. 3 picks in the opener versus a team that couldn't score. He's the sole reason they lost this game. And yes, we had the Saints because, we're high on the Saints in a divisional aspect. Tannehill absolutely ruined it for them.
Yeah, let me start by saying you hit the nail right on the head. Tannehill looked like a peewee football quarterback out there.
It was just laughable. The balls he was throwing, and even the completions. The completions were at the line of scrimmage. The completions were wobbly passes or off-thrown passes that receivers just happened to catch.
I don't know. Tannehill had never looked that bad before. Like, he was never an absolute gunslinger, but he never looked that bad.
I had this prediction that Tannehill will not be starting for them by the halfway point of the year. But watching this game, it could be way earlier than that. Their season could be over in 2 more games if they don't move on from him and try to get a little bit more upside. It doesn't matter what quarterback you have running that offense to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and throw 0-yard dump-offs to Derrick Henry 30 times a game. It doesn't take a magical gunslinger to get it done.
Yeah, I will say, just in all, the game was a little bit of a disappointment. Obviously, we just talked about Tannehill. But the Saints only scored 16 points, and when you get 3 free possessions from the other team, you're expected to do a lot more than just 16 points.
Yeah, I will say one little bright spot in this game was Michael Thomas, 5 receptions for 61 yards. Most of that coming in the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
But you can see a little glimpse. He might be returning to old shape a little bit here.
It was good to see.
Yeah,
he was fired up.
Absolutely. He was ready to go. The main event of the evening. Raiders take on the Broncos and send the Broncos packing. Russell Wilson does not ride, and they lose the first game of the season to an interdivisional rival, Raiders.
Let me just start by saying this team is an absolute fucking disgrace. It's been a disgrace for the last 6 years. We were only relevant for 3 or 4 years because we got one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Somehow he came to our sorry-ass franchise. Listen, our cornerback 2, Damari Mathis, was burnt toast all game long. Our kicker, Will Lutz. We could have won the game, bro. Even with Damari getting burnt play after play. We could have won the game if Will Lutz didn't miss an extra point. If Will Lutz didn't miss a field goal. I think ultimately this game was lost when it was 13-10, 4th and goal from the 5. And instead of going for it and trying to go up 2 scores and seal the game, they kick a field goal. Raiders go down, get a touchdown. I mean, it was predictable as it got at that point. If you go for it on that 4th and goal and you don't get it, it's not the end of the world. They have to go 95 yards to take the lead. You know, you can live with them tying the game with a field goal at that point. But I'm so like grossed out by this team, bro. All the shit they put me through the last 6 years. I'm never picking this team to win a game all year long. Next week against the Commanders, I'm putting my pick in now. The Commanders almost just got beat by the worst team in the league. And guess what? The Broncos are going to lose to the Commanders next week. Fuck you, Denver.
Wow. This is a lifelong Broncos fan, but I will get to the bright spots of this game. The Raiders were confusing. I mean, the Denver defense definitely held them at bay. Josh Jacobs looked terrible. His efficiency was just awful. Jimmy G, he's just a winner.
Jacoby Myers had like 90 yards.
Jacoby Myers had probably the game of his life, and shout out to him. I hope he's healthy after that big hit and what looked like a scary knockout on the field. But, I mean, Adams is still going to be Adams. I think that's what we learned from this game.
Unfortunately,
he's still going to get his, even versus a good Denver defense. Eagles versus Patriots, 25-20. Sort of a surprising game here. It looked a little outclassed in the first half, and everything sort of switched for the Eagles there.
It was definitely a surprise to me. A lot of people were saying this was going to be a close game. I didn't think so. So it was surprising to me. Patriots defense played really well, which you knew they were capable of doing. It was just be a question if they were going to be able to hold that Eagles offense with all the firepower they have. And they did, really. They held them to 18 points. Eagles had a pick 6, which was part of their 25 points, and ultimately a big reason of why they won the game.
Let me tell you this. This is the sneakiest 300-yard, three-touchdown game I've ever seen in my life.
That's facts.
Mac Jones looks like a lost puppy under center, and yet he somehow ended this game with 300 yards. If you asked me how many yards he had, I would guess between 150 and 180 yards.
He's so unathletic.
It's hard to watch almost, but this Patriots defense is legit, just like it is every year. I mean, after the first quarter, they held this Eagles team at bay. They
9 points.
They couldn't move the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the Super Bowl representation from the NFC last year.
Speaking of that Patriots defense, I just want to shout out Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I wish the Lions took him.
He looked great. He had a pass breakup on that last drive that gave the Patriots a chance to win the game. Obviously, they couldn't come through. But
yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting year for the Patriots. I mean, I think this is going to be a common thing where they sort of hold these good teams at bay and come up just short, you know, with the offense.
I like that,
just because they don't have the firepower. I'll put it this way. This one threw me for a loop, and I'm all sorts of confused here. Rams 30, Seahawks 13. I'm lost.
Yeah, it was a shocker. The Rams might be back, but I think more important, the Seahawks are frauds. I've been saying this since last year. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs last year. Geno Smith is not that guy, and today they were exposed. Matthew Stafford and the Rams might be back. They just handed them an ass whooping in Seattle without Cooper Kupp.
I like that. I hate the Seahawks as they took the last spot of the playoffs from my Lions, even though the Lions were fucking way better than them. Fuck the Seahawks. I'm glad the Rams won. I had the Seahawks winning. Doesn't really matter. Stafford looked great for what he had.
Yeah, he did.
Cam Akers looked awful yet again, which
22 carries, 29 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win like that versus a team that's going to put up points.
Yeah.
Rams need to do some soul searching too. And then it will happen with Kupp. But
Stafford looked good though, man. First game back from injury.
Yeah, I just still can't see him winning much more.
Dolphins versus Chargers. Dolphins come out 36-34 with a victory. Most exciting game of the week. What do you think?
Absolute bloodbath, and I loved every second of it. Tua, unbelievable, dude. What are we doing? We're pressing 500 yards passing
In week 1.
This offense is gonna go. This offense is Jalen Waddle was limited snaps.
I know.
This is unbelievable. Tyreek Hill what kind of game is this? 215 yards with 2 TDs on 11 receptions. That's over 20 yards a catch.
Listen, it might be a Tyreek Hill MVP type season.
He said he wants 2,000. He's gonna go get it.
If he hits that 2,000 mark, he's gonna win MVP in my opinion.
Tua's 466 with 3 TDs with a couple fumbling problems, but
Tua still turned the ball over.
Yeah, I don't want him diving in that pack for those balls with all his concussion history. But dude, this Dolphins team, it's gonna go, and
they're exciting to watch.
The defense, serviceable. They played a really good offense.
They came through at the end when it mattered most.
Right.
But you're not gonna get by giving up 34 every week.
Right. Xavier Howard, couple too many pass interferences, but they cleaned some things up, and you just keep dumping the ball off to Tua, and then Waddle comes full time, and dude, and they were moving the ball to a bunch of other guys too. Like guys were stepping up.
Barrios,
right.
They all came
Barrios
through.
with the biggest reception of the game to keep them alive on third or fourth down. This offense is gonna go. So a lot of hate has been thrown Anthony's way for his takes on this team. Packers absolutely destroy the Bears, 38-20.
Yeah.
Justin Fields looked like he doesn't know how to throw a football yet again after everybody's been saying he's going to take that jump. Packers look great. What are you going to say about this?
So listen, Packers fans, a lot of y'all motherfuckers been coming at me. But listen, I owe you guys an apology. I'll admit when I'm wrong, but I will say I was wrong for this week. Not only was I wrong on the Packers not performing, but I was also very wrong on the Bears being a good team.
Let's not let anybody forget he had the Bears winning the North.
No, I didn't have them winning the North. Hell no. I had them making it sneaking in at the 7th seed.
Okay. Regardless, he had them as a playoff team.
So I want to talk about Jordan Love's stat line real quick.
Talk
245 yards, 3 touchdowns. There was probably about 75 of those yards were some passes he just dumped off at the line, and his receivers went and did all the work.
Shout out Aaron Jones.
So I still stand on Jordan Love as a fraud. His stat line this week was total bogus. It's not an accurate reflection of how he played, in my opinion. But the Packers fans, whatever. You got one up on me for this week. Come talk to me at the end of the season, bro. Come talk to me.
I will point this out. Christian Watson was out, his number one target.
He's a bum, too.
Yeah,
hold on. 611 yards in 14 games last year with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. He is not nearly as special as all you little Packers fans are saying he is. Trust me on that.
Shout out Romeo Doubs, 2 touchdowns, a little bit of a breakout
He's also
game.
a bum. There's no breakout there. 4 receptions, 26 yards. Whoop-diddy-do dandy. 2 of them just happen to be for touchdowns. You're not going to get that every week. He's also a fraud.
Welcome to Week 1 overreaction, or not overreaction. And we're going to go over everything that sort of happened this week and find out what we should be excited about, pretty much.
So, starting us off, perfect question for your boy. No one in the North can even compete with the Lions for the division.
I'm going to spell it out for you, right? This is going to be bad. The Lions are going to absolutely run through the North. They are not going to lose a single game in the North after watching these teams play. Maybe the Vikings can take one at most. They're beating the Bears twice, easily.
Yeah.
The Bears were just god-awful.
Yeah,
the Bears don't have any business trying to compete for a wild card. Justin Fields looked awful. DJ Moore is a non-factor. The Green Bay Packers played that awful team. So it's like they scored, 38 points, but what is it worth when you're playing the fucking Bears? Jordan Love looked fine. Christian Watson will come back. Doesn't really fucking matter. The Lions are going to score 38 on them and fucking hold them to 20. So it's like the Vikings is the best chance to compete, and they just lost to the Bucs.
So I think this is a little bit of an overreaction because it's phrased as compete, and I definitely think the Vikings can still compete with them. The Vikings went out and lost to a pretty good team this week, in my opinion. So I don't think it's a total runaway just yet. It's only week 1, bro.
The Vikings have no defense. They stand no chance versus Jared Goff. Jared Goff's the guy.
Jared Goff might be the guy.
He literally is the guy, which is the craziest part.
They were talking about extending him, and right now it doesn't look like a bad
Right now, I'm into the Jared Goff extension. You can't find a guy that takes care of the ball more than Jared Goff right now.
He gets it to his playmakers and lets them do everything else, which is perfect.
Nobody's competing. This is not an overreaction. The Lions take the North easily. Overreaction or not overreaction? The Bengals should have waited after this season to see if they should have signed Joe Burrow to that large extension.
To a bag. This is a funny one. I think it's clearly an overreaction. Would you agree?
I would agree, 100%.
Today, it was week 1. It was downpouring. You got to cut him some slack. Honestly, I don't even know what to say about this. We know who Joe Burrow is. He showed us time after time.
Right.
It's an overreaction for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rain game and a passing offense.
Yeah.
You expect it not to be pretty. Joe Burrow coming off of a leg injury probably a little earlier than he should have. And
That's right.
not getting reps with the team. He looked bad like we sort of could have expected. Not to that degree, obviously. But, I mean, they played a run-heavy offense in the rain. Yeah, I mean, it was just the perfect storm, no pun intended, for them to get their ass whooped.
Overreaction or not overreaction? Bucks are the new NFC South favorite.
Now, as big of a Baker guy I am, I'm going to say that's an overreaction.
Really?
I am. I still think I like the Saints a little bit more than them. I think the Saints' defense goes a little bit better. I didn't like what I saw out of Derek Carr, but I wasn't wowed by the Tampa Bay game.
No, I wasn't either. I'm shocked by your answer, though.
I'm shocked that I sort of want to go back on what I said. But, like, I think when it comes down to it, I think the Saints,
It's close. I feel the same exact
no,
way. I don't
it's
know which way
tough
to go.
because Baker looked great.
He did.
And I want to see this team work, but I still can't buy completely into them.
Yeah, honestly, bro, the more I think about it, I'm going to say it's not an overreaction. The Buccaneers went in and beat a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily a team that's going to go contend for a Super Bowl, but they made the playoffs last year. They have a ton of weapons on offense. And then when you can compare them to the Saints went in there and were gifted 3 free possessions, didn't do shit with it. So I think it's very fair to say that the Bucs could potentially be the new favorite in that division.
I'd like to see it happen.
Overreaction or not overreaction? Anthony Richardson is the best rookie quarterback coming out of this recent draft class.
Not an overreaction at all. I think it was sort of, this is what people expected if he were to be the best one in the class. This is how they expect him to play this week 1. I mean, watching Bryce Young, it was just tough. I mean, I thought he looked overmatched in all facets of the game. He did have some good accurate balls at times, but I just thought he was overmatched. Richardson is going to dominate this game at some point. He's too big and athletic not to. He will figure out the betterment of his passing game to some degree. The dump-offs might just be his thing, and that's fine. The one thing he needs to do is learn how to fucking slide, because he was taking some big hits,
that is for
and that will keep you off the field. So, but I think it's not an overreaction at all. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a star.
So, when it comes to just this week, I'm going to also say it's not an overreaction, but in the grand scheme of things, come the end of the season, I think it might be a little bit of an overreaction. I will say, though, Richardson's game was on full display today. He was slinging it. He was running it. He was running people over. I'm still just such a big Bryce Young guy. I'm not ready to quit on him after 1 week.
Yeah, I can't buy into Bryce Young, but I think even there's a lot of untapped running potential with Anthony Richardson. I want to see more read option type things.
He's like a...
He's like Cam Newton.
Yeah, I almost said a better Cam Newton, but that's such a crazy comparison.
He's got a higher ceiling.
I don't want to be that guy, bro. It's
I'm there with it.
I don't want to be that guy.
I'm there with it. Overreaction or not overreaction? The 49ers are the class of the NFC.
It's definitely not an overreaction. Their competition coming out of the NFC, who would you say would be? The Eagles? Is that really it?
That's about all you got.
NFC is not nearly as deep as the
Except
AFC.
for the Detroit Lions, baby.
That's right.
Don't forget it.
With that being said, I think the 49ers right now are clearly the favorites. They went in there and handled business against Pittsburgh. Philly went in there against New England and struggled a lot. So with that being said, I do not think it's an overreaction.
Yeah, I don't think it's an overreaction either. I mean, overall, Brock Purdy shut me up.
Brock P.
I like Brock P, but he looked like a star today.
He did.
Like
he has when he's been in, bro. Like even last.
I've always been the guy that says I don't think he's the problem, but I don't think he's the solution to the problem.
Right.
He looks like he is the thing that makes this thing go right now. That defense is always going to ball, which is incredible. Like,
they're so good.
They're going to be hard to beat. I'll put it that way. Overreaction or not overreaction? The Rams are back.
This is not an overreaction. The Rams are back.
Oh, no.
They went in there and beat a playoff team in one of the hardest stadiums to play in the NFL. Not just beat them.
They're not a playoff team. Are you
them.
serious?
I think this
the
year.
The Seahawks are a playoff team.
Last year they were.
Last year they snuck
and
into the wild
card.
card.
They got better this year. They got some new additions on defense. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Let's hear it, bro.
The Rams did it without their best player.
Yeah, I mean, but this is such an overreaction. The Rams are not back. Just because they beat a shitty team in the Seattle Seahawks does not mean that they're going anywhere. They're still like maybe top 8 team in the NFC.
That's right there in playoff contention.
That's in playoff contention, but they're not going to be able to get it done. They just won't.
Overreaction or not overreaction? Tyreek Hill is an MVP contender this season.
In terms of stats, I don't think it's an overreaction at all. In terms of the fact that they don't hand out MVPs to anything but quarterbacks nowadays, you could maybe say it's an overreaction. But this dude's going to ball. It's going to be 150 to 200 yards almost a game. And throwing a touchdown or two, and it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think if he hits that 2,000-yard mark, like he was talking about wanting to hit, I think he has to win it because no other receiver has ever done that before.
Right.
It's just so hard for them to not give that award to a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
Overreaction or not overreaction? Ryan Tannehill is done as a Tennessee Titans quarterback with a couple more games like today.
This is not an overreaction at all. He is a bona fide bum. He's a bona fide scrub. He can't get things done anymore. This is enough of mediocrity as Tennessee needs to see. I mean, how many years are you going to run back the same exact team with the same exact scheme of get Derrick Henry the ball with the same exact quarterback that can't get the ball past the line of scrimmage? Ball's coming out bad. 3 interceptions. You can't keep doing this. You draft quarterbacks and you keep doing this. Like, it's insanity.
I mean, that's a good take. It's the right take. I also don't think it's an overreaction. The question is worded as he's done with more games like he played today. And there's no doubt about it. You can't throw 3 picks every week and expect to stay on that field.
Overreaction or not overreaction? The Broncos are in trouble.
Well, as you can see here, partner, my one-time #1 Denver Broncos fan sign has been replaced with the Broncos suck sign. So we've been in trouble for the last 6 years. The fan in me wants to say, "Hoorah! It's the beginning of the year. We're gonna figure it out this year. We're gonna end 16-1 after losing the first game." But the realist in me has suffered and cried and sat in the dark for the last 6 years because of this stupid, fraudulent ass team. We are in trouble. We've been in trouble for the last 6 years. What's gonna change it now? Huh? We just lost to the Raiders, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier going forward in their division. They have to play the Chiefs twice.
And the Chargers.
And the Chargers twice.
That's and the Dolphins and the Bills and the Jets. We're fucked.
Yeah, they could see another losing season and then some this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Broncos country, let's ride. Overreaction or not overreaction, the Browns win the AFC North after what we saw today.
It's a complete overreaction. The Bengals are still going to be a great team, just a couple bumps in the road to start the week. And I think the Ravens are going to also be a lot better than what they displayed this week. Deshaun Watson did not look impressive whatsoever. So I think it's an overreaction.
Yeah, I think it's an overreaction too. I think the Bengals will figure it out. I mean,
they have to.
The Ravens will also figure something out, but I do think the Browns are for sure a playoff team this year. It just depends whether they win the division or snag a wild card.
3 teams out of the North? No go for the Ravens.
I'm going to go no-go for the Ravens. I don't think they do it this year, especially if the Browns can play to their potential.
All right, guys, that concludes today's episode. We appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you back next time.
Game on.